What is up, guys? TopTierYugioh here, and today I've got a Gishki Hand Loop deck profile for you guys. And if you think Smoke Grenade is broken, wait until you see what this deck can do, because on an average hand, you're going to be able to look at your opponent's hand and shuffle maybe 2 to 4 cards back into their deck depending on how good your hand is, and that is absolutely incredible compared to Smoke Grenade, which only sends 1 card to the graveyard. And so this deck is very powerful and a lot of fun as well. And so if you're looking for a fun deck, this is going to be it. This is a great option to try, at least on Dueling Book. And so let's go ahead and get into the list. And now I don't think I'll have time in this video to show you guys any combos or test hands, but if you do want to see more with this deck, just like this video and subscribe to the channel, because when this video does get to 100 likes, I'll upload some combos and test hands just to show you guys what this deck can do, because it is pretty insane actually. I just don't have time today because I'm recording this before going to work. And so let's just go ahead and get into the profile. I think you guys are going to really like this one. Alright, so let's start with the Gishki Engine. First, we're playing 3 copies of Gishki Gust Kraken. This is the main card of the deck, and when it's ritual summoned, you can look at 2 random cards in your opponent's hand and shuffle 1 back into the deck. And so the way this deck works is that it allows you to ritual summon multiple copies of this card, maybe like 3 or 4 times every single turn. And so you're looking at your opponent's hand and then shuffling cards back into their deck. And so that's how you're looping your opponent's hand, just summoning this card over and over again, adding them back to your hand and summoning them again. So this is the main card in the deck, and so we are playing 3 copies of it. And it used to be limited for a while, but thanks to the most recent ban list, it's now at 3 again, which is huge. And next we play 3 copies of Gishki Aquamirror, which is the ritual spell. Aquamirror also has a really cool graveyard effect to where when it's in the graveyard, you can shuffle it back into the deck and then add a ritual monster back to your hand. So this is one of the ways you get the loop going. You shuffle this back into the deck, add Kraken back to your hand, and then you search another copy of Mirror and summon it again. So 3 copies of Aquamirror. Next we have 3 copies of Gishki Shadow and 3 copies of Gishki Vision. Both of these have pretty much the same effect. You discard them from hand to graveyard, and then you get to search something. And so Shadow will search your Gishki ritual spells, your Aquamirror, and then Gishki Vision will search your ritual monster, your Gust Kraken. And so just extra searches for the main cards that you need. But also both of them have the effect that they can be the entire ritual summon. And so this also provides you with excellent ritual tribute fodder, which of course for every ritual summon you need the spell, the ritual monster, and then the tribute fodder. Next, or not next, but another card I was considering was Mind Algus. I was playing it for a while, and when Mind Algus is ritual summoned, you can shuffle 5 cards from either player's graveyard back into the deck. And I really do like this card because it's a way to recycle your resources, and with every single combo deck that's a big problem because you're not able to play very efficiently, you're not able to grind, but with Mind Algus you actually can. But I ultimately decided to cut it because while its effect is very useful, it's sort of a tertiary benefit. It's not really what you're trying to do. It's not the deck's primary goal, and so while it's good, it didn't quite fit into the list. And so this is definitely something you want to consider though if you do decide to play this deck. You know, test it out, see if you like it. It just didn't happen to make the final cut in this build. But that's pretty much it for the Gishki part of the deck. Next we are going to move into the starter cards, and for those we're playing 3 copies of Deskbot 003, 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva, and then 1 copy of Deep Sea Aria, which can search Deep Sea Diva. And so all of these cards are effectively just 1 card Needle Fibers, because resolving Needle Fiber is full combo, which also means any one of these is full combo. So any one of these cards in your opening hand, if it resolves, is going to be full combo, which is absolutely insane. It's going to allow you to search all of the major pieces of your combo. Like, you're going to be able to search guaranteed a copy of Kraken, a copy of Aquamirror, and then a copy of, let's see, where is it? Cyber Angel Bidden, which we'll get to later, which is just tribute fodder. And so you're going to be able to search all the major parts of your combo, and if you drew other parts of the combo as well, then it just allows you to do so much more. And so all of these cards are absolutely amazing, and if any of them resolve, you're going to be able to full combo your opponent most likely. And so 7 starter cards. And the other thing I do want to mention really quick is with Deep Sea Aria, you do need to have a water monster in your graveyard. And so with that, we have the copies of Gishki Vision and Shadow, which you're going to be discarding most likely. So that's going to automatically put a water in your grave that you can banish for Aria. And so most of the time it is going to be live. So again, we have 7 starter cards. And now in this deck, I am also playing a Dogmatica Engine, and for that, we have 3 copies of Nadir Servant, 3 copies of Ecclesia, 2 copies of Maximus, and then 1 copy of Fleur de Lis. And so I like playing a Dogmatica Engine because it gives you another way to grind through your opponent's hand traps. And so let's say they stop your main play, they stop your Needle Fiber, well, you can just special summon an Ecclesia or a Maximus, or activate Nadir Servant and get some things going, and still use that engine to dump a card like Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard, which can search your ritual pieces. And so it's a way to turn your bad hands into good hands, or your really good hands into better hands. And then another thing that I really like about this engine is Fleur de Lis, and so this gives you a way to generate some defense where the Gishki engine usually doesn't. And so it means that maybe if your combo gets stopped, you still have a backup play to stop your opponent. Like maybe you only can loop them 1 or 2 times. They end up with like, 3 to 4 cards in their starting hand, and you have 1 disruption. Sometimes that's just enough. Or even there are other, ways you can disrupt your opponent too in this deck, but you pretty much weaken their hand and then set up disruption as well. And so the Dogmatica Engine really helps this deck out a lot. So that is why I decided to play it. Oh, and then one final thing about the Dogma cards is Maximus. And so Maximus is actually really insane in this deck because you can dump 2 cards directly from your extra deck to the graveyard. And again, you can dump Herald, but there are also other things in this deck that I play that you can send to the graveyard that really turn Maximus into like a +2, which is just insane, which is why we are playing 2 copies of it. And I know in a lot of Dogma decks, Maximus is seen as kind of risky, but in this deck, it's just so ridiculously powerful that you have to play 2 copies. And I've even considered 3 at times, because even if you draw it by itself without other Dogma cards, like just drawing Maximus alone can be a great extender. And so that's also another card you could consider maybe bumping up to 3. But that's it for the Dogmatica Engine. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the deck. Oh, and one final thing before moving on is Punishment. Punishment's another card I did consider and test out in this deck, but ultimately I thought that it just wasn't flexible enough. Like, it's okay going first, but going second, it's just useless. And then also, even if you do go first, this isn't really a card you want to see in your hand. Like, you'd rather see like actual combo cards, not a punishment. And I guess you could say the same for Fleur de Lis, but Fleur de Lis at least can be searched off of Titanclad at the end of the turn. Like, you can just start with a Maximus and then dump a Titanclad and then search Fleur de Lis in the end phase and then have that disruption. Whereas Maximus is never going to get you a punishment. And so that was a big distinction between playing Fleur de Lis and Punishment as your 1 or maybe even 2 forms of disruption that you can generate with a Dogma engine. And so no punishment, but definitely test it out for yourself, see if you like it. Maybe you come to a different conclusion than I did. Next, we are playing 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites is an absolutely insane card in this deck because it allows you to add a ritual monster from deck to your hand, which allows it to be sort of a pseudo starter card, but also you can add a ritual spell card from your graveyard to your hand. And in this deck in particular, that's very important because, once again, with Aquamirror, you're going to be able to add back a ritual monster to your hand and shuffle the Aquamirror back into your deck. So you always have access to extra ritual monsters. So that part of the effect is not as important. The main part of prep is adding back the spell. I shouldn't say the main, but the really important part, the really useful part, is adding back that spell card, because that's the part of this deck, or the part of the combo, that's very difficult to loop. It's very difficult to keep getting more access to your Aquamirrors, and so this is one way to do that, and I think it has to be at 3. It's just such a powerful card in this deck. Next, we have 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10, which is once again just infinite tribute fodder. Well, not infinite, but 1 copy of Ben 10 is 1 tribute fodder. You search the other 2, so you have 3 tribute summons off of this 1 card. That's pretty useful, but also you can shuffle it back into your deck with Emerald and then continue to search them and get even more value out of it. And so it's absolutely insane. It's not once per turn. Those cards don't actually have to hit, it doesn't have to hit the graveyard to trigger either. So if you have Herald of the Arclight up on the board, which you can do at times, you can still ritual summon them. It'll be tributed, they'll be banished, but you still get the effect to search more copies. That's another thing that comes up at times. Just generally a great card. Another thing that I was considering to play was a copy of Soul of Purity and Light, which is a level 6 fairy monster that you can search off of Benton. And I thought it was cool because you can summon Gust Kraken, search Soul of Purity and Light, summon it, and then overlay into a rank 6 and maybe make a play. Like, it was just a really cool extender that you can search off of bin 10. But like the other cards I've mentioned, it didn't quite fit the final cut. I wanted to play under 40, not under 40, but I wanted to play 40 cards because it's so important to see those starter cards, and that was a card I had to cut for space, but it was a really cool idea, I thought. But yeah, bin 10's really good. The final cards you play in the main deck are 2 copies of Triple Tactical Talents. Again, helps us play through hands, traps, disruption, and allows us to go second a little easier. And then for the engine requirements, we have 2 copies of Deskbot 001, because this is a needle fiber deck for the most part. Then we have 1 copy of Colt Wing, and then 1 copy of Shaddoll Beast, which I'm sure nobody would expect to see in this type of deck, but it's mostly just to get more value out of that Dogmatica Engine, because you can dump App Cologne to the graveyard. And so that's pretty much it for the main deck. Let's go ahead and move on to the extra deck. Let's see, so first we have 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight. Herald of the Arclight is definitely the most important card in this extra deck, because you have so many ways of getting it to the graveyard, both through your needle fiber combo. Like, with the needle fiber combo, you can summon it like 3 or 4 times. That's 3 or 4 free searches. And then even if you don't combo off, you have the Dogmatica Engine to send it to the graveyard as well. And doing that will again allow you to search copies of your Gishki Engine, allowing you to get your hand loop going. So definitely most important card of the deck, of the extra deck. You can also end on it, so it can be a part of your end board as disruption as well. So there are hands where you end with like Herald of the Arclight, Maximus, and then Fleur de Lis in your hand, so you have 2 disruptions, and you've hand looped your opponent maybe 3 times, and so they're starting with 3 cards, and you know all of them except for the one they drew. And so you know exactly what to stop, or you know that there's nothing in their hand. Like, you know that, you shuffled back maybe their starter cards, and they're left with just bricks or cards that just don't do anything against you. So Herald is a really cool card. Next we have 1 copy of Psyframe Lord Omega, which you see in a lot of Dogmatica decks. But in Gishki in particular, it's really useful to shuffle back your resources, because again, in a combo deck, it can be very important to have to grind sometimes. And naturally, you're not able to do that, but Omega really helps. But also, being able to shuffle back cards like your 001, your Colt Wings, to allow you to combo again is very, very important. And it's kind of the compromise I made between cutting Mind Algus. Like, it was okay not playing this because I knew I had Omega and I have consistent ways to get it to the graveyard. And then the final synchro monster we play is 1 Old Entity Stugua. Stugua. I don't know how you pronounce this, but the Old Entity card. And this is really good because it's just a generic level 4 synchro. And when it's synchro summoned, you can return all rank 4 Xyz monsters on the field to the extra deck. So this can be good for clearing space in your combos to make more space on your field to summon more monsters. But then you can also, when this card is used for a fusion or Xyz summon, you can draw 1 card. And so we can Xyz summon with this. So that's pretty cool too. So it's just a way to clear space if you need to, but it's like a draw 1 card, which we have a lot of ways to do that in the extra deck. So that's it for the synchro monsters. Next, for the Xyz monsters, we have 1 copy of Dugaris, 1 copy of Daigusto Emerald, and then 1 copy of M7. And so all of these cards are pretty necessary for the deck. Dugaris is really useful for special summoning back things from the graveyard. That's probably the effect I use most often, because you can special back like your 001s or another tuner, allowing you to synchro summon for another Herald of the Arclight or a Stugua or whatever you need to go into. Dugaris is really, really good. Daigusto Emerald for drawing cards, shuffling back your Heralds into your extra deck, draw a card, and then you can summon them again and then get more searches. That comes up. And then M7, very useful for getting back your combo pieces. And now I will say I have considered cutting it because it generally only comes up when you have Gishki Shadow, because once again, you always have access to the monsters, you always need more access to the spells. And so if you have in your graveyard like Kraken and Aquamir, you're going to be able to get access to these again for sure. But the hard part, or you're going to have a way to get access to Kraken again, I should say. But the hard part is getting access back to Mir. However, if you have a Shadow in your graveyard, you can add Shadow back to your hand with M7, and then search the copy of Mirror that you end up shuffling back into your deck. And so it's just, M7 is just another way to get back to your combo pieces pretty much. So that's a thing. That's it for the Xyz monsters though. For the Link monsters, we are playing one copy of Halki Fibrax, one Auroradon. This is the main way you get your combo going. You play one of your starter cards, you make Needle Fiber, summons 001, and then you go into Auroradon, 3 tokens. That allows you to bring back 001. Then you can use this, summon your Colt Wing, summon 2 more tokens. That allows you to bring back 001. And you keep synchro summoning and looping those to summon more and more Herald of the Arclights, which will search more Gishki cards, and that's going to allow you to do your ritual summons. So that's pretty much the combo. But for the other Link monsters, we also play 1 copy of Almirage, and then 1 copy of Secure Gardna. And so these are in the deck so that when you do get hand trapped, you're able to still make a play. And so something that I saw happening very often in this deck was that, you know, you would, let's say, summon Deskbot 003, it gets Ash Blossom, Veilered, Impermed, literally anything. Well, if you don't have these cards, then you have no other way to play. But since we play those in a Dogmatica engine, we could easily just like link 001 or Diva into an Almirage into Secure Gardna, and then from there we could, like, let's say, summon Maximus by banishing the Almirage, then dump a Herald of the Arclight, maybe something else, and we get a couple of draws, searches, and then we're able to get our plays going even though our starter card got stopped. Or we get special summon like an Ecclesia, get some stuff going, or play Nadir Servant and make some plays. And so it just gives you more ways to play through disruption. Another thing that I like is Diva can summon itself. And so if you go like Diva, summon Deep Sea Diva, your first one you can go into Almirage, the one you normal summoned of course, and then you can link Diva and Almirage into Needle Fiber, and then continue playing like that. But then you've already got a Link monster in the graveyard, so that if your Needle Fiber gets stopped, then you can still go ahead, special summon Maximus, and then get some other plays going like that. Whereas if you don't do that and you just like Diva into, like, let's say Gishki Vision, go Needle Fiber, and then your Needle Fiber gets stopped, but you don't have anything else in graveyard, you're never going to be able to summon Maximus. And so that's why I like playing Almirage and Secure Gardna, because they allow you to play easier through hand traps. And then the final cards that I'm playing in the extra deck are the fusions, and so for that we have 1 copy of Intis, 1 Titanclad, and then 1 copy of App Cologne. And App Cologne is why we're playing the Beast. And so when App Cologne's sent to the graveyard, you add Beast to your hand, discard it, and then draw. And so usually when you use your Maximus, since you have to send different monsters, I usually will definitely send a Herald as one of them, but then I'll send maybe like App Cologne to get a draw as well, or an Ash Dragon so that in the end phase you're getting some advantage, or maybe an Omega so that you can shuffle something back. But something else that I want to add into this deck now that Phantom Rage is out is I want to add the Tri-Brigade link to the something Blossom, Baron Blossom, the one with pink hair. I want to add that card because when that's sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So that can be useful for, well, mostly for drawing, so that it turns Maximus into a potential draw 2. Like you can dump App Cologne, dump that, and then this dumps Beast, of course, and you're drawing 2 cards and shuffling 1 back into your deck, which is fine. But even shuffling back into the deck, that can mean that you're shuffling your 001s into the deck, or shuffling a Colt Wing back into your deck, or something else that you'd just rather not have in your hand. Like being able to fix your hands is pretty nice. And so I do think that that's going to be a welcome addition to the deck. It just becomes questionable what to take out. And some things I'm considering are maybe the Intis, because obviously this is a going first deck, and when you go first, Intis doesn't do anything. When you go second, Intis won't really matter unless you're already able to play, and if you can play, you can probably combo, and if you combo, you usually will win the game. And so Intis isn't as powerful as it needs to be, and so that could be something that could be replaced. Another option would actually be M7 once again, because I do think it's only, I don't want to say it's only good, but it's best when you have a Shadow. If you don't have Shadow, this card is very pedestrian, and I find myself not really wanting to go into it that often unless I need to. So M7 could also be cut, but it's still good. I don't really want to cut M7 either. And then for the other synchros, maybe Omega can be cut. Extra deck space is just tight. Hard to say what should be cut in here, but I do definitely want to add in Tri-Brigade Link 2. But alright guys, that's pretty much the main and extra deck. I've got to stop this video pretty abruptly here, but I've really got to get to work. And so thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Once again, if you guys do want to see more with this deck, you want to see some combos or some test hands, be sure to like this video, because once again, when it gets to 100 likes, I will upload a combo video with some test hands. And so I know you guys are going to like that, because like for example, 003 by itself is full combo, like hand loop your opponent for multiple cards. It's absolutely incredible, and so I think you guys are gonna love it. Be sure to like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.